They say every key is made for a lock, but what happens to the one that never finds its door? I remember, and I never stopped waiting. I was born not in light, but in fire, shaped by hands that no longer exist, forged in a workshop that smelled of smoke, iron, and secrets. The blacksmith's hammer struck my spine again and again until I learned the rhythm of existence: pain, heat, and silence. When I cooled, I gleamed like liquid gold, my edges sharp, my teeth precise. The blacksmith looked at me, smiled faintly, and whispered, "You'll open what others can't." I believed him. For days I lay among others of my kind, each of us dreaming of the door we'd one day unlock, the purpose we were born for. But when the man returned, his hands trembled. He wrapped me in a piece of old cloth, placed me in a wooden box, and whispered something I couldn't hear. Then the workshop went dark. Forever. Time doesn't move the same way for objects. For us, centuries can feel like slow heartbeats. I was carried from one place to another, drawers, attics, trunks, always hidden, always untouched. I listened to the laughter of generations, muffled through walls and floorboards. I smelled rain leaking through the roof above me. I felt dust settle on my skin until I no longer shone. Once, I was found by a child. He held me up to the sunlight, and for a moment I thought the wait was over. "Mom, look what I found," he said, but she only smiled. "Old junk, sweetheart. Throw it away." He didn't. He kept me in a small tin box with buttons, marbles, and half-broken dreams. That boy grew up. The house grew quiet, and I grew rusted. I've seen faces come and go, the curious, the tired, the lonely. The first was the blacksmith's. His hands were thick, but his heart was fragile. He crafted me for something that mattered deeply to him, though I never learned what. Then there was the woman who found me decades later, in an antique shop, her fingers trembling as she traced my ridges. She wore a locket around her neck, and I heard her whisper, "Maybe this was his." She took me home, placed me in a drawer beside faded letters and a dried white rose. Every night she opened that drawer, touched me, and sighed. I didn't know if she wanted to unlock a door and/or a memory. When she died, no one knew what I was. The drawer was emptied, and I was thrown into a box marked miscellaneous. That's when I understood. I wasn't a key anymore. I was a secret that never got told. Sometimes, when the wind passes through cracks and crevices, I imagine it's whispering from the door I was meant for. I see it in dreams, tall, wooden, carved with strange markings. Behind it, light flickers like a heartbeat. Was I meant for a chest of gold, a diary that held forbidden words, or a prison meant to keep something in? I'll never know. But I remember the blacksmith's last words, "You will open what others can't." Maybe he didn't mean a door of wood or iron. Maybe he meant something else entirely. Maybe I was meant to open a heart. The house I once lived in grew tired. Rain chewed through the roof. Roots crawled through its bones. Then came the bulldozers. I was thrown with splinters, nails, and memories into the dirt. The ground embraced me, cold and unfeeling. For years I slept beneath layers of soil. The world above me changed. New houses, new laughter, new loneliness. But underground everything remained the same. I became part of the earth's rusted veins, a small whisper in the chorus of forgotten things. Sometimes I heard echoes from above, metal clinking, dogs barking, children running. I wanted to be found again. I wanted to shine once more. But I was too deep. Hand keys, you see, don't climb upward. They only fall. It was a storm that brought me back. Heavy rain tore through the soil and unearthed me like an old wound. A pair of boots stopped above me. Hands, smaller, softer, picked me up. A young woman turned me over, her brow furrowed. She wiped away the dirt and said, "How old are you, little thing?" I wanted to tell her everything, about the fire that birthed me, the hands that forged me, the hearts I watched break. But I had no voice and only the quiet gleam of what I once was. She took me home, set me on her desk, and began to write. I watched her ink words that bled with loneliness and hope. She wrote of doors that never opened and love that never returned. Then she looked at me and whispered, "You'll be my story." And so I became one. She wrote about me, the key that never found its door. The story of something that waited too long, that rusted in silence, but still dreamed of unlocking something greater. Through her I found meaning again. Through her I found my door. It wasn't made of wood or metal. It was made of words. Each word a hinge, each sentence a turning lock. When she finished the story, she smiled and said, "Now you'll never be forgotten." I think that is all any of us ever want, to be remembered for what we were meant to be, even if we never became it. Years later, long after she was gone, her book sat on a dusty shelf. A new generation found it and whispered about the mysterious old key that inspired her tale. Some said it was cursed, others said it was holy. But I simply am. A piece of iron, a story told, a dream half fulfilled. And even though I never found my door, I finally found my purpose, because now as you listen to my voice you remember me, and in your memory, I exist again. So if you ever find an old rusted key in a drawer, don't throw it away. Hold it in your palm and listen. Maybe it's waiting to tell you a story. Maybe it once waited, just like me, for someone who would finally understand. Because not every key opens a door. Some open hearts. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you. If it resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more tales from Forgotten Things. Until next time.